Thank you, Chairman Camp.
Well, thank you. Administrator Tavener, how many people have enrolled in the exchanges?
Chairman Camp, that number will not be available till mid-November. We have over 700,000 who have completed applications.
So you know the applicants, but do you know the enrollees? Do you have an idea of how many of those applicants became enrollees? Because that's really the number that matters.
We will not have that till mid-November. We have people who are shopping now. We expect the initial number to be small, and I think you've seen that in our projections, and that was the Massachusetts experience as well.
I have to tell you, the numbers I'm hearing from insurers in my home state of Michigan are not good. In fact, of enrollees. A very small number. In fact, I think I could have a meeting in my office and have all of them fit in, of the people who've been successfully enrolled in the plans. I understand that CMS's stated goal is 7 million enrollees by the end of March. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think critically important, of that 7 million, 2.3 million of those need to be young and healthy. I think those are your metrics. Is that correct?
I don't have that metric with me, but I'll check on it.
Okay. I believe those are numbers that CMS has put out. The Associated Press reported in early September that there was a memo prepared for the by the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Health. Are you aware of that press story and that memo? I think it went through your office to Secretary Sebelius.
That went through the enrollment numbers? Yes,
and it said that there were month-to-month predictions of enrollment numbers showing a path to the 7 million that I mentioned.
Right.
Could you make that memo available to the committee?
Certainly.
According to the press report, that the memo estimated that 494,620 people would sign up for health insurance under the program by October 31st. Now, we're obviously very near that date. Have you met that estimate?
We will not have those numbers available till mid-November.
So do you not know? Do you not have any idea of how many people have enrolled, or you're...
Folks are still in the process of enrolling, both in the state-based exchanges and in the federal exchange, and we will have those numbers available in mid-November.
Are you getting those numbers?
Am I getting those numbers? Not yet.
You have no numbers on who's enrolled, so you have no idea?
We will have those numbers available in mid-November.
So no one is forwarding even weekly updates on...
I think you've seen some of the press, and I think that was on the graph earlier about what states have listed. We will get those numbers in mid-November.
But I understand you're not publicly releasing those numbers, but I'm asking, do you have any idea of, on a weekly basis, how many people enrolled? I mean, how do you not know how many people have enrolled?
Chairman Camp, we will have those numbers available in mid-November.
But is your staff updating you on those? Are you getting those on a periodic basis? I realize you're not prepared to give this to the committee, even though this is a government program and we're trying to do oversight here and we're trying to understand what the problems are. But do you have some idea of what those problems might be in terms of the numbers?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me.
Well, you've said that 700,000 people have completed the application process, so clearly you're getting some information. Do you have any idea of how many of those can move to the next step of enrolling, of looking at plans?
So
how many are eligible? How many have decided to enroll?
Once individuals complete the application, then they go into the shopping experience where they can look at plans. We do get numbers on the number of applications, and then we need to break those out. And that's what I'm saying. This is part of the rollout that we will give in mid-November for the October data.
Okay, so you do have the applications, which is a 700,000 number, but
Yes.
You don't have how many people successfully enrolled.
I'm saying people are still in the process of enrolling.
Of those 700,000, do you know how many of those are eligible for Medicaid at this point?
We have some information on who is eligible for Medicaid. And then obviously states have their own information about that, and it depends on whether a state has expanded or not and what's going on inside. It's very state specific.
Can you share with the committee the information you have about those that have enrolled that are eligible for Medicaid?
We will also have that information available in mid-November as well.
Because that would mean of those 700,000, a significant portion could not be enrolling in the would not be in the exchange if they're qualifying for Medicaid. Isn't that correct?
We will have that information available to you in mid-November.
Yeah, but the law is that if they are eligible for Medicaid, they're not enrolling in the exchange. That's my question.
Correct.
So there could be a significant portion of that 700,000 that would not be enrolling in an exchange. Is that correct?
There could be numbers in there that will be eligible for Medicaid. That's correct.
Do you know how many of the 700,000 have qualified employer-sponsored insurance and therefore will not be eligible for the exchange?
Those individuals who have employer-sponsored insurance, usually at the end of the application, they're asked that, and if that's the case, they usually don't proceed.
Do you know how many of those 700,000 are young adults, say under the age of 26, who might choose to stay on their parents' plan if it's cheaper?
I do not.
And do you know how many are undocumented aliens and who may not be eligible to enroll in the exchange?
So, as you are aware, we actually have a connection through the data hub to check for that, and if they are not eligible, they do not complete the application, they do not go on to shop.
But of these 700,000, do you have any idea how many are just looking and how many are trying to enroll?
We actually look at the people who are shopping, and obviously the majority of the people who are completing applications are there to actually purchase insurance, and so they continue to go through the shopping experience.
Well, there are media reports that say as many as 80% of that 700,000 number are actually eligible for Medicaid. Is that a number you'd dispute?
I don't know where that media report is or how they would get that information.
Well, if that's true, I mean, that's the only information we're getting, frankly, today. I frankly would have hoped for a little bit more from you. But if that's true, then less than 140,000 of these applicants are potentially enrollees in the exchange. And that's assuming they don't have employer-provided coverage. That's assuming they can't stay on their parents' plan or otherwise ineligible in some other way. But that means you're likely to hit less than 1/4 of this October estimate of 494,620. How many people did you estimate would enroll between November 15th and December 15th, which were 2 weeks off from that period?
I don't have that in front of me. I'll be happy to get you that information.
If you could get that to the committee, I'd certainly appreciate that.